What's up, guys? It's your boy Darskin, and today we're going to be talking about what you should be doing for the late game. Now, the game's been out for what, about 5 months, I'd say, and at this point in time, we are now getting to the late game of Grand Cross. Now, I know some people are going to be like, well, Darskin, we're not in the late game. It's only been 5 months. Late game is not something that ends, right? Late game is like infinite. If you are at the end of Grand Cross, you are in the late game. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. The biggest part, number one, is gear sets. Being in the late game or whatever for gear sets, and it's not even necessary. I'm not saying you have to have 20 gear sets. You don't have to have 20 gear sets to be in the late game. But as far as what you want to do to get there is you need to start min-maxing your gear. And what I mean by that is you want to start getting percents super high on your gear sets. Now I know as free-to-play players, y'all are limited on a lot of anvils and on a lot of hammers. But if you're a free-to-play player, you should only be maxing, and I mean like super maxing, right? Like 4 gear sets. That's it. You should only be like super maxing 4 gear sets. And if that is the case, you'll eventually be able to do stuff like this. I've only done this for King. I've only done this for King. I didn't spend any money. I didn't spend any money on this. So this is something a free-to-play player can do. But if you look at my King's gear, this is 15%. The belt's 15%. This right here is 14%. This right here is 15%. And then this right here is 13.7. This right here is 13.6. Now, I almost have King's gear completely maxed. Right? But this is not, like I said, this is not something I've done for anybody else. I have not done this for anybody else. I didn't spend any money on this. I got King's UR gear completely free from Grinding Training Cave. I got the hammers, all of that completely free. Now, how I did was obviously gear gotcha, and then, I mean, just playing Training Cave consistently. So that's where I got all the hammer, because the hammer pack's not even worth. You get what? You get like 30 hammers and then like 400 anvils. Compared to if you buy the anvil pack, you get like way more or something. It's just not worth getting the hammer pack at all. I will say, for Valenti, I did spend money on hers. Getting her resistance to 30%, I bought that. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I bought that one. But for King, I've done it completely free to play for King. So it's doable. Now, I've only done that for King. If you look at anybody else's gear, no one's gear is near as good. Look, 12, 12, 13. No one else has that. But to go into the late game, you want to start maxing someone's gear. Whether it's a main unit, I literally use King in everything. King is my favorite character of all time in this game. He's my favorite character in the show. I 100% am going to use King no matter the circumstance. So, maxing his gear, doing hammers and stuff like that is perfectly fine. Keep in mind, you only want to hammer like 2.5. See, like these two, I'm going to reroll these two. You want to hammer like 2.5 or above. 2.4, maybe. But it's like, if you can reroll this eventually, you just want to reroll it. So 2.5 or above, you can start hammering. But yeah, so I'm going to do that for King. I'm going to do it for Gother, Merlin. You only want to do it on units you're going to use a lot. And you only want to do it for units that are being used, right? Like Helbram. I love Helbram. I use Helbram a lot. I'm not going to min-max his gear until way later. Because the truth of the matter is, I'm not going to use Helbram for almost anything. So it just doesn't make sense to... It does not make sense to do that, basically. Long story short. So I definitely won't be maxing Helbram. But Gother, Merlin, I use Ult Rush. I'm going to use them all the time. I'm going to min-max their gear. So gear, that's number one. And like I said, you only need like 4 gear sets. If you're a free-to-play player, just max out, super max 4 gear sets. Whether it's 2 attack, 2 HP, or if it's 1 attack, 3 HP. 4 gear sets, and try to max them as much as possible, depending on what team you run or whatever, right? Like if you run Pin Team, Meliodas attack set, Escanor attack set, then you got Lilia, and then whoever, King, who both have HP sets. So there you go. If you want to look at my gear, right, she has no gear on her. My gear sets, Diane has UR gear, King has UR gear, Helbram has UR gear, Escanor has attack UR gear, Valenti has triple defense UR gear. Scrolling down, My Red King has an attack set on because I actually made a new farming team. I know, bad farm teams, right? Goldthar has HP defense. Merlin has HP defense. Then Slayer has HP defense for Merlin support, or Goldthar support. Elaine has her own set that this is a set I'm working on, right? This set, Elaine's set is like not rolled. If you look at it, right? It's not rolled at all. I just maxed it out. I didn't even do, yeah, it's just maxed out. I'm going to eventually make that, or, you know, max it or whatever. Moving on. Yeah, so Slater, Arthur for Merlin Link, Estarossa, he just has a random attack set on. I'm not using him at all. Meliodas, King. I have a lot of gear sets, right? But, like, as you are not going to have that many gear sets, which is perfectly fine. Right? I mean, grinding bluestones, grinding gear, grinding all of that. You do want to make a lot more gear sets eventually, but I know a lot of free-to-play players are probably going to have like maybe 6, 7, 8 gear sets. Y'all aren't going to have as many as me, and it's perfectly okay. Now that you've began maxing units and maxing their gear, you want to look into UR gear. Now, as a free-to-play player, you are not going to have, like, you're not going to be able to UR gear everybody right away. But you can already start to see which characters are better at getting UR gear than other characters. Let's look at all the characters that have UR gear right now. King, super worth. Whether you're using Red King, Green King, Blue King, King is amazing. When it comes, so like getting him UR gear is perfectly fine. Really, really nice. Scrolling down, no one else is worth. Lilia, I know a lot of people use her in pin team. A lot of people use her in other teams, right? Like even without Meliodas, right? A lot of people have been using Lilia with Mikasa. On JP, people have been using Easton Lilia, Goldthar. Lilia is debatably a really good unit to get UR gear. Another unit, Escanor. Escanor, amazing unit to get UR gear. Granted, if it's debatable whether you go HP defense or attack defense. I want attack defense. That's just what I wanted to do. I have a video on it if you guys don't know which one to go. But Escanor is an amazing unit to get UR gear on. Against a lot of beliefs, Valenti giving UR gear to her middle 2 is actually very good. Because if you're running resistance on her, like that's going to be multiplied by the defense. So going over the characters I talked about. If you give Valenti UR gear for the middle 2 pieces, that's actually not that bad. But I wouldn't give her UR gear, I'm gonna be honest. But I just use Valenti and everything, so I did. If you go look at Escanor, if you don't, as a free-to-play player, you should not be giving units UR gear in the middle 2. Now I know I said Valenti, but that's just because of how she works. I don't think you should give Valenti UR gear at all, I'm gonna be honest. But you don't have to give UR gear for the middle 2. And the reason why is because defense gives you the lowest amount of combat class in the game, and it's the least useful stat out of the 3 in the game. So if you want to give UR gear to people as a free-to-play player or like a small spender, just do the top 2 and bottom 2, and you'll be perfectly fine. That goes for everybody. That goes for Lilia, King, Meliodas, Escanor, every single character. Defense doesn't matter near as much as the other 2. So getting those would be perfectly fine. Now, obviously, I did this. You know, I got all 6. But I've already started prepping my gear for Gloxinia and Elaine. And if you want to look at the gear, I am doing the same exact thing. So let's go ahead and look at Blue Slater. If you look at Blue Slater's gear, you'll notice the bottom 2 have +5. The top 2 have +5. I mean, this one has +5, but that's because I switched it out with someone else's. This is going to be Gloxinia's gear. For Gloxinia, I'm only getting the top 2 and the bottom 2 UR. And the reason why is because Gloxinia's heal scales off of his HP. Or not HP, his attack stat. So the top 2 is going to be good. Obviously, I want the HP. If you go look at Elaine's gear, I've already started doing hers. Which her gear is on Arthur. Arthur's up here. I'm only getting the bottom 2 for Elaine. Now, obviously, I do have some right here. But I'm only going to get the bottom 2 for Elaine. Elaine's going to be in the 4th slot. I don't really need it for anything. HP is just really, that's it. So as far as gear and everything like that, these are the things you want to be doing. You want to be min-maxing your main gear sets. You want to be looking at who you want to give UR gear. If your main damage dealer is Meliodas, wait till Meliodas gets gear out, give him UR gear. Same thing for anybody. I know I wanted to talk about late game as far as, you know, Grand Cross, and this video is mainly about gear. I'm probably going to do a couple of different videos on this, on what to be doing, I guess you could say, as far as late game for Grand Cross. This video is about gear. Maybe tomorrow I'll do a video on, you know, units or whatever the case may be. I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah. So, late game gear guide, I guess, on who you should be maxing, what you should be doing. That's going to be about it for this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment down below. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section. With that being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.